it's Dr. Natalie Muth. Today I'm going to talk about reading nutrition labels. Have you ever been to the grocery store and been completely overwhelmed looking at labels, trying to compare products? Or maybe you don't use the labels at all. That's okay. You're not alone, but I'm hoping that after today, you'll feel much more confident in using nutrition labels to help make smarter choices, and it won't add too much time to your shopping trip or to your day. So let's go ahead and get started. I thought we would use as an example one of my favorite foods, garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. And we're gonna go ahead and turn the can around to take a look at the nutrition label. So the very first thing that you wanna look at is the serving size, because everything else on this label is based on one serving size. So you can see here, the serving size is a half a cup, and then there's 3.5 servings per container. So if I eat a half a cup, I'm getting whatever is on this label. If I eat more than that, then I'm getting more. So something important to keep in mind. Note, the serving size is not based on a recommended amount of what you should have, but rather on what a typical person eats in one sitting. So something to keep in mind, especially for snack foods or processed foods, take a look at the serving size and make sure that you know kind of about how much you're having. Okay, so next thing that you want to look at is the calories. Now you can see on here the calories is in big font and bolded, makes it easy to see. Now I don't recommend counting calories or becoming overly worried about the amount of calories necessarily in a food, but it is important to keep in mind, especially if you consider everything on the label is based on an average 2,000 calorie diet. Some people need more, some people need less, but keeping that in mind with what you're having, meals, snacks, about what the food is. And you can think of 40 calories is considered to be low for a serving, 100 is considered to be moderate, and 400 or more is considered to be high. So kind of a general rule of thumb that you can keep in mind. Okay, next, let's take a look at the nutrients. So when you're looking at the nutrients, there's foods or items, nutrients that you want to try to eat more of, and there's nutrients that you want to try to eat less of. So the nutrition label can be very helpful in helping you know what exactly is it that's in your food. So first thing, let's talk about the ones that you want to try to eat less of. So a big thing on there is saturated fats. So not much saturated fats here in our garbanzo beans, but when you're looking at saturated fats, the goal is about 10% of total calories or less per day. Remember, everything is based on a 2,000 calorie diet, so the percentage in the daily value, it will tell you that based on about an average of a 2,000 calorie diet. Next, you want to think about trans fats. Now, foods are not allowed to have trans fats in them anymore, so you should see that the trans fat should be 0. You want always the trans fats to be 0. Okay, then next, you're going to want to look at the sodium. The sodium is a measure of salt. The general guidance is to try to have 2,300 milligrams or less per day. A lot of canned foods have a lot of sodium in them, as you can see, but with things like canned vegetables, legumes, you can rinse it before you eat it, and that can help you to decrease your sodium. But make sure to take a look there and try to keep that sodium as low as you possibly can. Finally, to minimize added sugars. So there's no added sugars here in our garbanzo beans, but many processed foods, snack foods have lots of added sugars in them. Rule of thumb for kids is to try to have as a goal 25 grams per day or less. If you take a look at a soda bottle, you will see that that is a lot more than that. So trying to keep that sugar minimal is great if you can. Using labels is the only way to do that, really. And then for adults, the goal is to try to have 10 grams or less of added sugars per meal if possible. So take a look at those added sugars. Now let's move into the nutrients that are on the label that you want to eat more of, things that you really want to emphasize. These are also things that a lot of people tend to not eat enough of. So a big one is fiber. So fiber is a general guidance is try to aim for 25 to 35 grams per day for adults. For kids, as a general rule of thumb, you can think of as a minimum their age plus 5 grams per day. But it varies a little bit, but most people don't get enough fiber. Try to eat more of that. And then calcium, vitamin D, potassium, iron are also very important. They're highlighted on the list on the nutrition label because of that, and things that people should try to get more of. And then you'll also see the protein there, so that's something to kind of keep in mind in trying to meet protein goals. Now, if you look at the percent daily value, that's based on the 2,000 calorie diet. As a general rule of thumb, 5% or less is considered to be low, 20% or more is considered to be high. So you want less of the things that are not so good for you and more of the things that are good for you, of course. And then finally, step 4 is you want to look at the ingredient list. Now, the ingredient list on a product like this is gonna be pretty short, but if you're looking at ultra processed foods, your ingredient list might be quite long. The ingredient list is based on the item in the food that is the most volume of it to the least. So if you have sugars and sugary things high up there on the list, that means there's a lot of them in there. So generally, shorter ingredient lists are usually better. You wanna look for whole foods that you recognize. Keep a lookout for added sugars. It'll be labeled on there as added sugars, but also ingredient lists contain lots of different names of added sugars: corn syrup, maltose, dextrose, evaporated cane juice. If sugar's in the first 3 ingredients, you can generally think of it as being a high sugar food. Now, also, just real quick, pro tip. Front of package labels can be super misleading. So things like natural, made with whole grains, low fat, they don't really tell you too much. There are some rules that are coming out probably with front of package labeling, but right now, really what you wanna do is look at the back of the label, the nutrition label. This really is where the truth lives. So hopefully this helped you to be able to dig deeper into reading nutrition labels. Give it a try, let us know how it goes. Again, this is Dr. Natalie Muth for Namio Health.